stop. I have a challenge for you. Yes, a challenge for you. So first, like, save, and follow, because you are going to want to keep up with this. So my challenge is to hear my story. And now, wait a minute, don't run off. People are in such a hurry in this world, and there's so much that we can learn from each other's stories. But I need to tell you the story before I can tell you why I'm doing what I'm doing. So it's important for you to know this. Here we go. Stick with me. It's only for a couple of minutes. I challenge you to stick out the duration of this. So I just need to let you know a little bit about me real quick. My name is Cheryl. And originally, I was living in Oklahoma with my second husband. We divorced. And then my mother had a stroke after a knee surgery, so she needed full-time care. So my siblings asked if I'd consider moving to the Pacific Northwest to live with her, to care for her, which wasn't even a choice for me. I was like ecstatic to do this. And I have a son living with me who's on the autism spectrum. So he was able to move with me as well because he needs to have that security of a roof over his head. Anyway, on with my story. So I got to spend that time with my mom. That was so glorious. And I got to be with her until she passed. And across the street from her was her sister, her only sibling, and her sister's husband. So we spent loads of time with them as well. And my whole goal was just to give her joy because she was able to get around. She was cognizant. She needed a walker, but she couldn't care for herself as far as she couldn't take showers alone. She couldn't do her meds. She couldn't cook anymore. So I was there for all of those things and just to bring joy to her life. So we had great fun. And then she passed, and I was fortunate enough that my sister got the house and allowed me to stay there for a little while to do my mourning. Once I kind of moved through the loss of that and was still spending lots of time with my aunt and uncle, I had the opportunity with the small inheritance I got to buy my own home for the first time ever in my life. And that's what I did. Well, then I moved into my home. I was still spending time with my aunt and uncle. I was making a decision about going back to work. I was in the massage industry at the time. And my uncle, unfortunately, was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and they were 90 at the time. So I chose to delay going back to work and spending time with them to help them through that and to help my aunt. Well, he passed 5 days before we went through the chaos of the shutdown. And suddenly I needed to be there for my aunt. Her two kids lived in different states, had their families. They just couldn't be there all the time. So I made that decision to be there for her. And so I delayed going back to work. Well, when he passed, it was 5 days, as I mentioned before the shutdown. So, and suddenly my vocation wasn't essential. So I wasn't allowed to go back to work. Fast forward to the end of all of that, and I had no income. I got to be on Social Security because I just reached that age, luckily just as my inheritance ran out. But now I had no vocation I could go back to. So suddenly I'm getting deeper and deeper in debt. I thought I was going to lose my house until the government brought in all kinds of programs. But then finally the programs ended. And I was still deep in debt. I was still on the precipice of losing my home. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I was listening to a friend of mine who I'd listened to for over a year, and she talked about this product. And she gave me all this information about it. And I thought, yes, that's what I want. That's what I want to do, because that is something I can do and still have the time with my aunt, who is now 93 and still needs some assistance, but is still cognizant on her own. But I thought, yes, I can do that. Well, guess what? Now that you stuck through all of this, thank you again, like, save, and follow. And I will continue this story later to tell you what I wound up doing to be able to save my home and to get this debt under control. Stay with me.